The sky burned red over the ruins of New York. Smoke rose from shattered buildings, and the distant echoes of explosions still rumbled across the horizon. The alien fleet had arrived without warning, their massive ships blotting out the sun as they descended upon Earth. Their weapons tore through cities like paper, reducing centuries of human progress to rubble in mere hours. But humanity had not surrendered. In the wreckage of what was once a military bunker, a group of soldiers gathered around a flickering holoscreen. Their faces were smeared with dirt and blood, their uniforms torn, but their eyes burned with defiance. The leader, a grizzled veteran named Captain Harris, studied the map displayed before them. "They hit us hard," he said, his voice rough. "But they made one mistake, they thought we'd break." One of the younger soldiers, a tech specialist named Riley, adjusted the feed. "We've intercepted their comms. They're calling this a harvest. They've done this to other worlds before." Harris clenched his jaw. "Not ours." Deep beneath the ruins, hidden from the invaders' scanners, a secret facility hummed to life. Scientists and engineers, survivors of the initial assault, worked tirelessly. They had one last weapon, a prototype defense system built from reverse-engineered alien tech. It was untested, dangerous, and their only hope. Above ground, the alien ships hovered, their commanders confident in their victory. They had crushed countless civilizations before. Earth would be no different. But they didn't know what waited beneath the rubble. They didn't know what humans were capable of when cornered. And soon, they would learn. The alien ships loomed over the ruins, their dark hulls gleaming under the dim light of the setting sun. Their soldiers, tall and armored, moved through the wreckage with cold efficiency, scanning for any remaining resistance. They had expected surrender by now. Instead, they found only silence, and traps. A small squad of human fighters, hidden in the debris, watched as one of the alien patrols stepped into a carefully laid ambush. A click, a hiss, and then, fire erupted from beneath the rubble. The explosion tore through the aliens, their shields failing against the crude but effective explosives. The humans didn't cheer. They simply vanished into the ruins, reloading for the next strike. Back in the underground facility, the air was thick with tension. The lead scientist, an older man named Dr. Carter, wiped sweat from his brow as he adjusted the final connections on the massive machine at the center of the room. "It's ready," he said, voice hoarse from exhaustion. "But we need more power. If we activate it now, it might not hold." Captain Harris studied the device, his face unreadable. "How long?" 12 hours, Carter replied. "If we can get the reactors online, we can give it enough juice to cover the entire planet." Harris turned to Riley. "Can we blind them for that long?" Riley smirked. "We've been hacking their drones since they landed. They still think we're just scattered survivors. If we hit their command ship sensors, they'll be blind for at least a day." Above them, the aliens were growing impatient. Their high commander, a towering figure with piercing silver eyes, stared at the holographic display of Earth's surface. "This resistance is illogical," he muttered. "They should be broken." His second-in-command hesitated. "Sir, our scans show unusual energy readings beneath the major cities. Should we investigate?" The commander waved a dismissive hand. "Irrelevant. Crush whatever remains. We leave nothing alive." But beneath their feet, hidden in the dark, humanity's last hope pulsed with energy. And the aliens had no idea what was coming. The night was eerily silent, save for the distant hum of alien engines prowling the skies. The invaders had intensified their sweeps, their searchlights cutting through the smoke like blades. They knew something was wrong. Their patrols were disappearing. Their drones were malfunctioning. Yet, they still couldn't pinpoint the source of the resistance. Deep beneath the ruins of Chicago, Captain Harris crouched beside a makeshift radio, listening to scattered reports from other survivor groups. The whispers were the same across the world: small victories, stolen supplies, sabotage. Humanity wasn't just surviving, it was fighting back. "We've got their attention," muttered a soldier named Cole, his fingers tightening around his rifle. "They're pulling more troops into the cities." Harris nodded. "Good. That means they're not looking underground." Back at the facility, Dr. Carter and his team worked in frantic silence. The machine, now fully assembled, hummed ominously, its core glowing a faint blue. The stolen alien tech had been integrated, but the power issue remained. The facility's reactors were old, barely enough to keep the lights on, let alone fuel a planet-wide defense system. Riley, hunched over a console, suddenly straightened. "I've got an idea. The aliens use fusion cores in their ships. If we can hijack one of their supply convoys, we can steal enough power to kickstart the machine," Carter finished, eyes widening. "But that's suicide. Their convoys are heavily guarded." Harris didn't hesitate. "Give me the coordinates." By dawn, a small strike team was moving through the ruins, their path carefully planned to avoid detection. The convoy was heading toward what remained of Detroit, its cargo, massive cylindrical fusion cores, gleaming under the dim sunlight. The aliens had grown arrogant. They didn't expect an attack in broad daylight. They were wrong. The ambush was swift. Explosions ripped through the convoy's escort drones, and before the aliens could react, human fighters swarmed in. Gunfire echoed, but the real target wasn't the soldiers, it was the cores. Riley and a demolitions expert named Finn worked quickly, rigging one of the cores to a portable lifter. 30 seconds. Finn shouted as the lifter's engines whined to life. The remaining alien guards turned, their weapons rising, but it was too late. The core was already moving, hauled away by a waiting transport drone. The strike team didn't linger. They vanished into the ruins just as alien reinforcements descended from the sky. Back at the facility, the stolen core was connected to the machine. The hum grew louder, the blue light intensifying. Carter exhaled sharply. "It's working. We'll have full power in 6 hours." Above them, the alien high commander finally realized his mistake. The resistance wasn't random. It was coordinated. And now, deep beneath the earth, something was awakening. Something that would make the aliens regret ever setting foot on Earth. The stolen fusion core pulsed like a captured star within the facility's reinforced chamber. Wires and conduits snaked from its housing into the humming machine, feeding raw power into systems never designed to handle such energy. Dr. Carter's hands trembled as he monitored the readouts, not from fear, but from the sheer, terrifying potential of what they were about to unleash. "We're pushing the limits of every component," he warned, adjusting a flickering display. "If the harmonic stabilizers fail before full activation..." Captain Harris didn't need the sentence finished. The entire eastern seaboard might vanish in the backlash. How long until the aliens trace the energy signature? Riley's fingers danced across a cracked console. "Their sensors are still scrambled from the convoy attack, but we've got maybe 4 hours before they pinpoint us." Above ground, the alien response had begun. Troop carriers disgorged armored squads in geometric patterns, their search now methodical. Buildings that had stood for centuries were reduced to molten slag as the invaders employed brutal efficiency. Yet the Earth itself seemed to resist them, collapsed tunnels booby-trapped with plasma mines, EMP bursts frying their scanners, and always the ghosts of human fighters melting away before retaliation could come. In the London ruins, a scarred woman named Walsh led her cell through sewer pipes, planting charges beneath alien patrol routes. "Make each shot count," she whispered as another squad marched overhead. The subsequent explosion wasn't just explosive force, it released a cloud of nanites stolen from alien wreckage, eating through armor joints like acid. Meanwhile, in orbit, the alien command ship's science officer studied anomalous readings. "Commander, the humans are..." "Annoyances," the commander interrupted, silver eyes reflecting tactical displays. Deploy the atmospheric incinerators. Burn their hiding places clean. Below, Harris felt the facility shudder as distant shockwaves rolled through the bedrock. They're upping the stakes. He turned to Carter. Can we go early? The scientist's face was grim. At 70% power, the pulse won't reach their fleet in high orbit. And it would. A console exploded in sparks as overload warnings blared. Likely kill everyone in this facility from feedback. Riley suddenly swore. Sir, they've found the secondary entrance. Combat drones breaching Tunnel 4. Harris grabbed his rifle. Finn, Cole, with me. Carter, get that machine online if you have to pray to every god humanity's ever invented. As the captain's team raced toward the echoing gunfire, the machine's core began emitting a sound like a tuning fork struck against the bones of the planet. Deep in its stolen alien circuitry, something unexpected happened. The device wasn't just amplifying human-designed weapons. It was speaking to the invaders' own technology. And their technology was answering. The alien drones poured into Tunnel 4 like a flood of gleaming metal insects, their articulated limbs skittering across the concrete walls and ceiling. Captain Harris and his team met them with controlled bursts of gunfire, the modified rounds punching through armor with eerie precision. Each shot had to count, their ammunition reserves were nearly depleted. Fall back to position Delta. Harris barked as a drone's plasma cutter severed a support beam, sending rubble crashing down. Cole took a grazing hit to the shoulder but kept firing, his teeth bared in a snarl. Finn lobbed their last grenade, the explosion ripping through 3 drones at once. The temporary respite let them retreat deeper into the facility, but the machines would keep coming. Meanwhile, in the control chamber, Dr. Carter watched the power levels climb with agonizing slowness. 78%. 79%. The stolen fusion core was straining at its limits, its containment field flickering dangerously. Riley worked frantically to stabilize it, her fingers flying across the console. We need more time, she gasped. We don't have it, Carter replied. He made a decision. Initiate the harmonic sequence early. We'll have to risk the incomplete charge. As the machine's activation protocols engaged, an unexpected phenomenon occurred. The alien drones in the tunnels suddenly froze mid-stride, their optical sensors flashing erratic patterns. Then, one by one, they powered down completely. On the command ship, the science officer recoiled from his display. Commander. Our drones are being overridden. The humans have. The screen before him dissolved into static as a wave of energy pulsed outward from Earth's surface. The machine was awake. And it was angry. Deep in its hybridized systems, the device had done more than amplify human weapons, it had tapped into the fundamental control frequencies of the alien technology itself. Like a virus, its influence spread upward through the atmosphere, disabling ships in low orbit before leaping to the larger vessels. The invaders' mighty fleet began to drift, their systems unresponsive. On the surface, Harris and his team emerged from the tunnels to an impossible sight. Alien drop ships were falling from the sky like stones, crashing into their own troop formations. The few remaining functional enemy soldiers staggered, their armor systems rebooting uncontrollably. In orbit, the commander gripped his throne as the lights flickered. What is this? How are primitives doing this? His answer came from the view screen, where Earth now glowed with an eerie blue radiance. The machine's pulse had reached them at last, and with it came a message, not in words, but in pure data. The commander's eyes widened as he understood. The device wasn't just a weapon. It was a key. And humanity had just used it to unlock the aliens' own annihilation protocols. The alien commander's silver eyes reflected the chaos unfolding across his fleet's status displays. Every system was failing in perfect sequence, like dominoes toppling across the void. He finally understood the terrible truth: humanity hadn't just stolen their technology. They had weaponized its deepest flaw. On the surface, Captain Harris watched through binoculars as the last alien walkers collapsed like marionettes with cut strings. The battlefield fell eerily silent, broken only by the distant thunder of crashing ships. Riley emerged from the facility, her face smeared with grease and blood but grinning wildly. It worked. The pulse scrambled their entire network. But Dr. Carter wasn't celebrating. He stood before the now silent machine, reading the final data scroll. It did more than that, he said quietly. Their systems weren't just disabled, they were reprogrammed. The revelation hit Harris like a bullet. You mean we could control their ships? Not just their ships. Carter turned haunted eyes upward. Their weapons. Their planetary bombardment arrays. Everything. As if summoned by the thought, the sky above them shimmered. The massive alien dreadnoughts, previously invincible fortresses in orbit, were turning their weapons inward. Energy signatures spiked across 100 vessels as their own systems prepared to fire upon themselves. On the command ship, the science officer screamed a warning. The humans have triggered the Omega Protocol. Our fleet will self-destruct in, his words cut off as the first explosions blossomed in the high atmosphere, artificial suns burning briefly before winking out. The commander finally showed emotion, his claws extended, gouging furrows in his command throne. All ships. Manual override. Scuttle the. His order never finished. The view screen showed Earth glowing brighter below them, the machine's pulse now resonating through the entire solar system. Then the command ship's core detonated, vaporizing the bridge in a flash of white light. Below, humanity watched as their sky burned. Harris lowered his binoculars, suddenly understanding the cost. Carter, how far does this go? The scientist's hands shook. Every piece of their tech in the solar system. Maybe further. We didn't just win the battle. Riley finished the terrible thought. We committed genocide. The weight of their victory settled over them like ash. In orbit, the last alien ships tore themselves apart in spectacular chain reactions. The night sky became a funeral pyre for an entire civilization. But as the final explosions faded, a new light appeared, this one from deep space. A transmission, broadcast on every frequency. The aliens hadn't come alone. And whatever was coming next had just witnessed humanity's capability for total war. Harris turned to his team, the battlefield silence suddenly more ominous than any alien attack. Get the machine ready, he ordered. This isn't over. The silence after the storm was deafening. Across the ruined cities of Earth, survivors emerged from hiding, their faces turned upward to the sky where the alien fleet had burned away to nothing. Captain Harris stood on the broken roof of the facility, watching the last embers of dying ships fade into the blackness of space. They had won. But the taste of victory was bitter. Dr. Carter joined him, his shoulders slumped under the weight of what they had done. The machine is offline, he said. Permanently. The feedback fried its core systems. Harris nodded. Maybe that's for the best. Riley approached, her usual energy subdued. We're picking up that transmission again. It's repeating. She hesitated. It's not a warning. It's a distress call. The revelation hit them like a physical blow. The aliens had been fleeing something. And now, whatever they feared had heard Earth's defiance. In the days that followed, humanity struggled to reconcile their survival with the cost. The world's remaining leaders gathered in what was left of Geneva, debating their next move. Some argued for rebuilding their defenses, preparing for the next war. Others advocated sending messages of peace into the void, hoping to avoid another cycle of destruction. Harris found himself standing before them, his uniform still stained with dust and blood. We used their own weapons against them, he said, his voice rough. We proved we can fight. Now we have to prove we're more than that. Deep in the ruins of the alien wreckage, a discovery was made. Records, painstakingly decoded, told a horrifying story. The harvest had not been conquest, it had been desperation. Their homeworld was gone, consumed by something even they feared. They had been searching for a new beginning, and in their arrogance, they had tried to take Earth by force. And now, that same force had wiped them out. The transmission grew stronger. Whatever was coming, it was closer. In the end, humanity made its choice. The last working spacecraft were refitted, not with weapons, but with messages. Records of Earth's history, its art, its music. Proof that they were more than just survivors. That they could create as well as destroy. As the first ships launched into the unknown, Harris stood with his team one last time. The machine that had saved them was now a relic, its purpose served. "They'll know what we did here," Riley said quietly. Harris watched the ships disappear into the stars. "Let them know what we do next, too." Far above, the last echoes of the alien fleet's destruction faded into the cosmic background. The message was sent. The choice was made. And somewhere in the dark, something listened.